What's up, you guys? I'm so excited to be here with one of my new favorite people, Cary Jack, and I'm excited to have you here and have this conversation with you. For those who don't know Cary, he is a jack of all trades. He is a good way to put him. He does so much and he does it so well. I was first introduced to you through a community that we're both part of called Brand Builders Group, which is about building our personal brand. And what I have come to learn about you is that you're a fascinating guy. I mean, you are an entrepreneur at heart. You've had your hand in multiple businesses. You are an author of a new book, which I can't wait to talk about, called The Happy Hustle. You run an amazing top 1% podcast called The Happy Hustle Podcast, which I've had the pleasure of being on. But you also are into things like biohacking. You're an actor and a model that's been featured by like massive brands like Corona and Marriott and Home Depot and all of these cool projects. We were just talking before we started that you were doing some kind of filming recently where you were killed by Indians or something. It was amazing. So you just are fascinating, and I just want to get to know you more and welcome you to the show.
Thank you, Tori, very, very much for that amazing intro, and I'm honored to be here.
So tell us, a little about your background. So just personally, I want to understand, how have you gotten to a point in your life where you're really focused on creating what you call the happy hustle? And hustle is a buzzword in the personal development space and just entrepreneurial space. A lot of people are convinced we need to be hustling, grinding to get where we want to be, to get to the top. Give us some background on your experience with that, and why is balance important when it comes to creating the lives and achieving the goals that we have for ourselves?
Yeah, I truly believe balance equals happiness. And I was out of balance as an entrepreneur and just as a human. I think our culture right now glorifies this grinder mentality, this, work till you're, barely alive and sacrifice your soul to get profit and success. And I fell into that trap early on. And, going way back, I've always been an entrepreneur. I grew up splitting time on the beaches of Sarasota, Florida, surfing and skating, and then half in the mountains of Red Lodge, Montana. So I was, half cowboy, fishing, camping, hunting, hiking, and half this, surfer and skater. And if you look at me now, maybe you could see this hippie cowboy look going on, or more caveman. Tori laughs when she sees my old pictures of me without this flow. But I realized the balance of these two amazing geographic locations. And although I didn't have the easiest of childhood, everyone has a story. Mine's no different. In terms of like adversity, we all have adversity we face. I had love in my family, and I'm grateful for that. Although there was, a gut-wrenching divorce and physical, mental, emotional abuse, and a lot of suicide threats from my inner circle, and had to deal with a stutter at an early age. I couldn't speak, so I was very frustrated. I got dropped on my head, which maybe explains a lot, but I couldn't communicate, so I had to navigate those waters. I then moved 24 times before the age of 18, and I got into some bad stuff, drugs, and kind of some gang shit, like making I may or may not have got involved in making fake money and fake IDs and distributing items that I shouldn't have been. And I was just up to no good. I was like, I was not this person that I am today. And I made a conscious choice after I saw the law from the other side. I ended up finally getting arrested and going to jail. And, that was a catalyst, a breaking point where I was like, I'm going to use my powers of hustling for good and operate with full integrity from here on out, And that was like this conscious choice, and it took a lot of pain to get there, but ultimately I got there. So yeah, now I'm definitely in a different light, and my goal is to share the love and light in every situation, in every interaction.
Wow. Wow, I had no idea. This
Yeah, I
is so
know.
intriguing because when you meet
Curveball.
when I yeah. I mean, I just shocker. I wasn't expecting that. And at the same time, this is what I love about getting to do this show and getting an opportunity just to sit down and really like get to know someone's story, because the truth is we do glamorize the hustle and we do glamorize the people that we see on social media and all the things that we aspire to be or want to be like the people that we see. And we don't ever truly understand what it took for somebody to get there. Like what someone's actually been through, that's the lessons that they learned and the pain that they've endured and the adversity and the challenges they had to overcome in order to do the thing that they're doing. And your story is so powerful in that way. What was it for you that was really that like turning point of recognizing you had a conscious choice of how you wanted to lead your life? You mentioned that it was, seeing life from the other side after getting arrested, but was there a time where you just recognized like I have to do something different, or was there someone in your life that helped you to turn it around?
Actually, it was a book. It was a book. It was called The Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman. I don't know if you've ever read that book, but it's a great book. And he's authored 17 plus books. And I've since built a relationship with Dan and kind of, have this mentor-mentee loose relationship. And it was so cool to build that, because his book did change my trajectory. I can honestly say that. And, early on I was leaning more into this warrior side of me, right? Like just that was my mentality,
Right.
to protect myself, to always be vigilant, and to do whatever it took. And now I operate in this peaceful mentality, which is the balance of both. And I have the balance of both. I actually have peaceful and warrior tattooed on either bicep because I took it to heart. And, I really do believe we all have both sides of us. And again, it's the balance of both. When do you stand up and fight? When do you walk away? And there's situations in life and for me, it was going down this wrong path and seeing how close my life came to ending, and being held up at gunpoint and getting robbed, and like all these things that took place, like having the authorities after me, and like real close, like hairline decisions that could have changed my life forever. And realizing that ultimately that life was not the life I wanted to lead. And I made a choice. I made a pivot. I think a lot of people have that choice posed to them throughout their lives, and sometimes you choose incorrectly, and it's sad to me. However, fortunately, I had, some guidance from above, and I leaned in, and now I turned around my life.
Yeah, and I think so many people listening can relate to moments in their lives where they've been at a choice point. Like, I can go one of two ways, and which way am I going to choose? Yeah. And it's almost, when you think about like just boiling it back just to the basics, it's not even about should I do this or should I do this? Should I move or should I stay? Should I leave the relationship? Should I stay in the relationship? Should I, hire the coach? Should I not hire the coach? It's almost like this mentality of looking at the world through, is there hope or is there despair? Like, am I going to give up, or am I going to keep putting one foot in front of the other? And am I going to succumb to the challenges that I've been faced with, or am I going to muster up the courage to keep showing up to life and doing the best that I can, and praying, to something higher than me that there'll be somebody or a book or something that will come into my world that will help like shed a light on a different path that's available that maybe I don't even know is available to me at this time. And so I love that you shared that it's a book, because there's definitely books that I can think of in my life that have been kind of those markers on my road. They're like, keep going, or here's something you didn't know about before. And it's beautiful that now that's kind of come full circle for you, and now you're writing your own book. I'd love to hear kind of what that was inspired by, and how you come to write The Happy Hustle, and really what it's designed to teach us.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I burn out as an entrepreneur, and I was hustling but not happy. And I'm sure some of your audience members can relate, and maybe you can too, Tori. But like for me, I was fast forward past all the trials and tribulations. I started a company in New York City. It was a tech startup with my brother and my business partner and my best friend, Grant. He and I went all in on this tech startup, and we essentially built this algorithm that quantified feedback. And we were soliciting, VC capital, and we had inked partnerships with Microsoft and IBM, and had this 7-figure VC funding offer on the table. And, we worked a year and a half to get there, like 100+ hour weeks, minimal sleep, usually less than like 5 hours. And I was just on fumes, and I was so out of balance. I wasn't prioritizing my happiness, my passionate hobbies, selfless service, or anything that I now talk about and prioritize. It was just work and profit and success, and largely ego driven, and I think a lot of people can relate to that as well. It's like, that's what we're told is important, this profit, this success, these titles. Yeah. And so we got to a point where we had these deals on the table. And my brother and I had this heart-to-heart conversation in our shitbox apartment in Queens, New York, where we were sharing a king-size bed, and there was a stained coffee table, and we were just like face-to-face crying our eyes out, like, what do we do? Like, this money comes with the 5-year clause, a commitment, will you? If someone's going to give you over 7 figures for your business, they want to know you're in it to win it, obviously. And we just, we couldn't take the money, Tori. We literally were so unfulfilled with what we were doing. Like the business started as one thing, and then as you meet with these people, they transition your vision to something else, and then it becomes, do you serve this industry better than this industry? And we just really got away from the mission. And I think a lot of people get us, they lose their way, and that was what happened. And ultimately, we made that very difficult decision. We said no to the funding deals, said no to the partnerships, folded the company. I moved to Bangkok, Thailand, actually. My brother went back to the University of Florida, got his master's degree. And I, while I was in Thailand, just lived there for 10 months and figured out like a better way to work and live, a way to, be happy within the hustle, a way to make an impact and an income. And that's where the Happy Hustle was born. And now the book is essentially signifying this replicable journey that anyone struggling with imbalance and overwhelm and unfulfillment can emulate to transform their reality into a life they love, full of that passion and that purpose and that positive impact.
I mean, that's the thing that we all want most, right? We want to have a life full of meaning and purpose. And your story is, although it's unique to you, it's so common. I see myself in that as well, of thinking that titles or money or some, kind of promotion or whatever it was going to be the thing that fulfilled me or made me happy. And I talk about that all the time on this show. But you're another example of this that says, hey, there's more. There's more to life than what we were chasing, or what we thought was going to be the end all be all. Like, this is the goal that we're the pinnacle of what we're working towards. And then you get to there and you're like, actually, I don't even want this. Like, I didn't even have time to pause, to recognize that the thing I was chasing, I don't even love, or I don't even want. And it's so common. We're living out almost someone else's dream, So you go to Thailand, there's this massive like pause almost on your life of going from something like New York and how like chaotic, and just you walk through the streets of New York and everybody's hustling, everybody's moving at a speed unlike anywhere else in the country, and then you go somewhere like Thailand. I imagine it slows you down. What was that like, just transitioning from New York to somewhere like Thailand?
It was awesome. I mean, I had like this penthouse for like $400 a month. You know, everything's like dirt cheap there. You know, you get a meal for like $1. Yeah. People are super nice and kind. And, you know, I actually rented like an RV with some people I met, and we just cruised the whole country. And then I went to Singapore and Vietnam and Bali and, you know, all these different countries in Southeast Asia and, you know, Japan. It's just really, I think, like, experiencing travel is the best education one can get. Someone who is maybe unsure right now with who they are, what their purpose is, really what they want out of life. I think when you travel, not only do you get to meet new people, experience different cultures, you know, learn different languages and, you know, have fun, but you also learn a lot about yourself, you know, and you really become accountable for your decisions. And you also grow in many ways. So that was a big time of growth for me. And I also, you know, I like made my first dollars online, like, you know, and that's when I was like, oh, this whole online like lifestyle entrepreneurship thing, this is freaking awesome. You know, like I don't need this big, massive company and all this overhead and all these people. And I don't need to put on the fancy suits. I'm making money by a pool in the middle of Bangkok. You know, this is great. So that was like the epiphany.
Yeah. Well, so when you went on that trip, did you go with the intention of, you know, learning more about yourself, or did you have something that you were going to do, or was it just for the experience and then you kind of ended up having these epiphanies along the way?
Yeah, there was really no agenda, you know, you know, you alluded to it, but I had one foot in the entertainment world as this professional model / actor. So I got representation over there in Thailand. So I had a source of income, like as a fallback. And, you know, I ended up booking some funny jobs over there, like me being this token white guy, like race car driver with this mustache and rat tail. And like, and I got like you can make some good money doing these roles in like commercial acting and modeling. So that was like, okay, I can do that. I did that in Barcelona. I did that in Rio. I did that in, you know, LA, New York, Miami. I knew I could make money doing it. But it was more just the experience of traveling, meeting awesome people, having fun. You know, that was really what it's about.
So when in your life you talk about, you've got a system and a framework for teaching people how to, in the book, create blissful balance. And I know we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But when was the first time that you personally felt like you had achieved balance in your own life, when you're like, oh, this is a whole new way of being in the world, as opposed to the way I've thought like I had to do it, what I've been taught and conditioned by society to do? What did you have, like a moment where like, oh, this is what balance is?
Well, more recently I appreciate my lifestyle more than ever, and I see the balance that I've created, especially, you know, living out here in Bozeman, Montana, and loving the outdoors. I just mentioned I got back from the hot springs, you know, right before we recorded, and I was, you know, doing my cold plunge and hot tub and you know, I get my workout in. Like, my lifestyle now is so balanced. This is a new level of balance. When I initially found it, most likely, if I had to select a time, was in Thailand, you know, was poolside in my penthouse for dirt cheap, you know. And then throughout the process, throughout the journey, I've been more balanced and less balanced depending on my goals and what I was embarking on. And that's an important distinction for all the listeners out there. Like, balance is not a finite destination, right? it is a never-ending journey. It requires constant tweaks and adjustments and pivots and quantification. And that's why, this soul mapping system is so important, because, balance is not that like end destination that you can just, okay, I got balance. It's like, It's constant and it's ever flowing. And so that's, just an important distinction.
Yeah. Because I think about in my own life, anytime I've felt more aligned and balanced, I mean, life is inevitably uncertain and something else will come in, or you'll get an email or you'll get a phone call, and all of a sudden the pendulum swings to the other side. And it is about learning how to come back to center more effectively, as opposed to like staying in those, extremes for long periods of time. You mentioned the soul mapping system. Let's jump into that, because this is kind of one of your signature frameworks that you talk about. Where do we start if we want to create a life of blissful balance? And those two words together, I mean, they're like, get me tingly and excited, because that's like the goal, right? That is the goal for so many of us. But you just said it's not a destination. So how can we start to create that in our lives?
Yeah, well, again, it starts with first self-quantification in each of these 10 alignments. I just scratched my own itch. Like, this was purely, okay, I'm out of balance, Cary, how do I fix it? So I broke my life down into these 10 different areas. And then along the journey, people were like, well, Cary, like, how'd you do it? And so I was like, well, this is how. And it just kind of morphed into this framework. And I would urge all of your listeners out there, I get the most out of podcasts when I actually am an active participant. And when I, am not just listening, but actually taking action. And I would urge every one of your listeners right now to either take out your phone or your pen, and paper, and quantify yourself in each of these 10 alignments. And I'm going to ask you a couple questions for each so you can identify. And I wasn't much for school, Tori, but I do know the grading scale. So 5 is like, an A, you're crushing it, you're happy hustling. Okay, 1 is like an F, you're failing. You need to prioritize change right away. So as I go through these 10 alignments, everyone listening, and Tori, if you're feeling froggy, I'd like to put you on the spot and see where you rank. We'll figure out where you are lacking. And I like to do this every Sunday. Okay, so it's not like this grandiose task. It's like, it's just part of my routine. I look at my week prior, and then I find the holes, and then I prioritize change accordingly. So think back just to your last week, or if you want to extend it further to your last month. We're going to start with S. And this is the S for soul mapping. This is the acronym of the 10 alignments. It's essentially your soul's map to the blissfully balanced promised land. Okay, so S stands for selfless service, right? Are you actually, giving back to causes and people that you believe in? Or are you just living more for yourself? Like Tony Robbins has a quote that I really love, and it is, the secret to living is giving. And I feel the most fulfilled when I'm giving to others unconditionally. So right now, rank where you're at in terms of selfless service. How often are you volunteering? Are you, giving to others unconditionally? That would be a 5. You're crushing it. 1 is an F. You're never doing it. All you're thinking about is your own personal gain. Rank where you're at. Okay. That's the S. O, optimize health. Okay. Are you mentally and physically optimized? Are you feeling, at a peak state? Are you, do you look in the mirror? Are you proud of what you see back? Or maybe not so much. Maybe are you shoving your pie hole with things that aren't really, good for you, fast food or sugars and processed garbage, right? Like, rank where you're at and be honest with yourself here, guys. This is the baseline. So, and it's okay. Just rank where you're at, 1 to 5. Tori, you got something? I feel like you want to chime in.
Yeah, I just ranked myself, and then as you're talking, I scratched it out and gave myself another number. I was like, let me just think I was being a little generous.
Hey, listen, there's no wrong answers.
So I scratched it out, and I was a little bit more honest.
Yeah, there's no wrong answers. This is just your baseline, and this is going to be where you really look at your life holistically, where it's lacking. Okay, so you got S, you got O, now you got U, unplugged digitally. Are you actually disconnecting from your devices? Are you creating barriers? Are you doing digital detoxes? Or maybe not so much. Maybe you're constantly, watching Netflix and streaming shows and, on your social media, scrolling nonstop. And it's one of those things, Tori, now more than ever, especially as entrepreneurs, who use tech to work and to create a business, like you have to have boundaries. And I'm, a proponent of doing regular digital detoxes, like a 24-hour Sunday one, and then also having like a 60-minute in the morning, 60-minute in the evening, right before bed and right when you wake up, like a barrier where you're just on airplane mode and you don't touch it. Now, I'm not perfect, but inside my book, I have happy hustle hacks to raise your score in each of these. However, right now, we're just going to identify where you're at. So you rank yourself. 5 is you're crushing it. You're doing your digital detoxes. 1 is you're not. You're constantly connected. L, loving relationships. Okay. What's it all for if you don't have love in your life, right? Tori, it's so important to have those relationships and those people that you love and that love you back. And, think about your own relationship right now with your significant other. Like, is there plentiful pleasure or is there, despair and angst? And then extend that circle even a little further to your immediate family and then to your immediate friends. And, really be honest. 5 is you're crushing it. There's tons of love. 1 is not so much. So right now you should have 4 scores. Okay. Just to recap. And those make up the soul part. Now, Tori, do you want to run through your 4 now or do you want to wait till the end?
Sure, I can. This is good. This is such a helpful tool already. I can see the value in this because it just gives you, an opportunity to visually see kind of where you are. And I really believe that we see what we measure and we see it in our lives. Like if we actually measure it, then we're going to see it more clearly the next time I'm not present at the dinner table and I'm plugged in and I've got my phone there. Just because I'm going through this and I can see how important it would be just to do it every day on a Sunday, which is something as part of the Coachable University curriculum. We have a check-in that happens every week, and this would be something that we could easily implement as a way to kind of just see where we at. And so for me, I'm killing it in the selfless service. I'm proud of that. And I'm very excited for,
That's amazing.
I'm really, really proud of the way I've built that as a big priority in my life, and how I can give back. Optimized health. I will be honest, I have fallen down and I'm doing this over the last week. So the last week I would give myself a 2. I have been eating very poorly. I have not been prioritizing it. I've been doing what's convenient, and that's not always best. But I also picked back up into my workout regimen. So I was like on a 3,
there you go.
But I gave myself a 2. So just to give myself a little bit more motivation.
And you're probably hard on yourself too.
I am. I gave myself a 3 for Unplugged Digitally, because I do think there's always more room. As somebody who is constantly plugged in, a lot of times this is an area where it has to be very intentional. Like you said, having those buffers at the end or the beginning of the day, which I'm typically really good about. But there are mornings, I wake up and I say like hello to my phone before my partner, and that's not how we want to do it. So having that is huge. And then loving relationships is a 4. Always room to grow in leaning into tension and hard conversations, but from a place of love and truth. So I'm doing all right, but we'll see how I do in the last half.
No, you are. You're the mapping. Yeah. So, and you brought up a very important point. So what you measure, you can actually manage. And so that's what we're doing right now. We're doing some deep work, the self-quantification to figure out where we actually rank. Now we get into the mapping part. Okay. So M stands for mindful spirituality. Are you, tapping into a higher power? Are you practicing meditation and breath work and prayer, or, maybe not so much? Maybe, maybe you're not like leaning into those different things that serve you and maybe you know you should be doing more. So rank 1 to 5 in mindful spirituality. A, abundance financially, right? Are you financially free, living life on your terms, spending, investing, and saving wisely? Or maybe not so much. Are you living paycheck to paycheck, or client to client, and it's like, rank and be honest where you're at. Like, it's all part of identifying first and foremost this baseline. So A, abundance financially, rank 1 to 5. The first P, personal development. And, this one, you're a lifelong learner, Tori, and as am I. We both love podcasts and reading and watching inspirational and educational content. And I think it's a really important distinction is, are you growing and evolving every day, or are you shrinking and dissolving? Like, that's the trajectory, one or the other. And so you can dictate your personal growth with these decisions. And 5 would be you're crushing it. 1 is an F, so rank where you stand. The second P, passionate hobbies. And this is one of my favorites. And this is also one that I see a lot of driven entrepreneurs lacking in, like almost the most, because we get so caught up in our day-to-day hustles, our happy hustles, that we sometimes we forget about the fun that we actually, things we enjoy, the activities. For me, I love fly fishing. I love, getting outside and horseback riding on my horse, or practicing martial arts, or, painting even. I painted these random splatter paintings recently, and I had a blast, throwing paint around. And it's like, how often are you actually, doing fun things that you enjoy? So rank 1 to 5 where you're at. Impactful work. Are you actually excited and fulfilled by the work you're doing? Like, are you infusing your passion, which is, more that inward facing, that calling that you feel on your heartstrings, with your purpose, which is that outward serving, mission driven mindset, with a positive impact? Like, are you combining those things to actually make a positive impact? And, if not, maybe you need to prioritize a change in this one, because this is one again where I think a lot of people, they sacrifice for a paycheck. And life's short. Nothing's guaranteed. We could die tomorrow. And it's just one of those things where if you don't have impact at the forefront of what you're doing for work, oftentimes your fulfillment lacks exponentially. And then N, nature connection. Are you getting outside and connected with Mother Nature and our beautiful planet, and going on walks and going camping and swimming in natural bodies of water? Oh, by the way, are you actually protecting our planet in the process? This falls under this category of like being a conscious consumer and, supporting B corporations instead of like unsustainable supply chains. Like, now is the time to really be an eco warrior. And I have a whole other eco business with my brother now called Eco Breakthroughs, and we're fighting the plastic pollution epidemic. And he's speaking in Dubai right now with like all these world leaders, and we have these awesome projects to actually make a difference. And it's like, it's one of those things that falls under nature connection, because we won't have nature to connect with if we don't start making conscious choices. So rank where you're at in nature connection. You should have, another 6 scores for the mapping part. And Tori, I'm excited to hear, where do you stand? All
right. So for mindful spirituality, I gave myself a 4. This is another area that I have intentionally cultivated spiritual practices that really support me, and that includes my meditation and breath work and other modalities that I utilize. And I always can feel on the weeks that I would give myself a lower score, there's a completely different way that I feel internally, and my body, all of it, like every other area of my life is impacted when that piece isn't prioritized. Abundance financially. I gave myself a 4. I'm really, I think there's always, as you know, I'm hard on myself, give myself room to grow, but I'm excited because I have really prioritized this. For a while I was putting off and avoiding having to just make some calls and do some things just practically as an adult you have to do, right? And we made some decisions around around like financial advising and all of that we're excited about moving into. We just invested in the metaverse for the first time. So made some cool financial investments recently that I'm excited for. Feeling good there, and all of the work that we've put in to see the revenue that we have and the place we're at financially. Personal development, persistent personal development for me is a 5. This is one of my favorite areas. I mean, I feel like my business is a direct result of the personal development work that I continue to do as a student of the work. So it's just a natural extension of the impactful work that I get to do. So it's like my homework. Me getting into personal development more and more, reading the books, like staying on top of the research and what's happening, is like me just preparing for work every day, which is fun. Passionate hobbies. You're so right. This is
passionate hobbies.
This is definitely one for me that I get to work on, and
yes,
I would put myself in the lower category. I gave myself a 3, but I think recently in the winter months I have been lacking in these areas. For me, it was easier in the summer where I could get outside and play tennis or go play softball or whatever. And I need to pick up a winter hobby. I think that's what I'm realizing. So that's one area I definitely get to work on. And it's just one of those things that we easily justify or excuse or like, it's fine, I don't need to. And we, especially as entrepreneurs, we'll just keep working because we think that's our hobby. Yep. Impactful work. I do it. I love it. I would give myself a 5. I really believe in the work that we do and we produce here. And then number 10, nature. This past week, I would say is definitely a 2. I was inside a lot. It rained a ton. I didn't get to be outside. Typically, I like to take daily walks and connect and ground into the earth, and I just haven't gotten to it. The temperatures dropped significantly, which I know is nothing compared to out there where you are in Montana, but it's been muddy and nasty, so I'm ready to get back and get outside again, because that's a huge piece. That's actually one of the areas of my life where I was able to find stillness is in nature and find that balance. I remember a specific time when I was traveling alone, and I was in Utah, in Salt Lake City, on the top of a mountain in the middle of the snow, and I just leaned back into this mountain and just had snow all around me, and it was pure quiet. I couldn't remember another time in my life where it felt that quiet and still. And I thought, this is different than the regular hustle and bustle, and there's just something that's available in that when you connect into it. So
amen to all that.
This was a really, really helpful exercise.
Well, and that's the thing. I hope everyone listening right now can really just give themselves grace. It doesn't matter right now where you're at. It matters where you're going. And this is part of the journey. We had to do this deep work and self-quantify, give yourself some grace. And now moving forward, which areas that you need to prioritize, change in. I'm going to give you arguably the biggest secret to happy hustling. All right. And this is numero uno principle of happy hustling. Okay. You must give equal importance to each of these 10 alignments, each of these 10 areas. But you must focus on one at a time. See, Tori, here's the thing that I've realized. A lot of people out there, when they're at work, they're focusing on their family. And when they're with their family, they're focusing on work. They're not focused and present in the moment. And so they're doing half-ass in each of these different areas, right? when you're at the gym, are you scrolling on social media? Or are you putting in work? You know, when you're volunteering, are you present, like with exactly what's happening, or are you just kind of thinking about your next task? You know, and so the biggest principle is giving equal importance to each of these 10 areas, each of these 10 alignments, but focusing on one at a time. And I've found that when I schedule my passionate hobbies, like when I schedule my fly fishing date with myself, you know, and I treat it with the same importance as I do this podcast with Tori, you know, and then my date night with my fiance gets the same importance as my fly fishing, you know, as this podcast. And so everything carries equal weight, but it's focused on with 100% effort and presence.
That's so good. And I love that you said give ourselves grace, because this is a starting point. This is a check-in. This is, you can't get where you're going if you don't know where you are. Like, you have to have that point A, start point. And that's what this is for everybody. And there's so much that this is such an easy, something that we can easily implement in our day to day, and also recognize that we're all work in progress. It's all, those scales will inevitably fall to one side at times, but it's just having this tool to come back to, hey, what do I get to put more of a priority on this week or this month? And let's see how different our lives are as a result. Like, how am I different because I prioritized having fun and doing my hobbies as just as much as I prioritize my work? Wow, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. And here is a little, you know, piece to the puzzle that I've implemented into the book, and it's called the Blissful Balancer. So I knew that there's a ton of apps and websites and all these portals online, but I wanted to create something analog, meaning not online, that you could actually utilize every single day to track your balance in real time. So I have these 10 alignments. Think of this whiteboard fridge magnet. It goes right on your refrigerator. You're going to open that probably at least once or twice a day. Most likely more. He's loving the Blissful Balancer. So this is one of those things where, you know, you put an action task associated with each of these 10 alignments. For instance, selfless service. Did you volunteer or give 15 minutes of your time today? Right? Optimize health. Did you move the body for 25 minutes or, you know, drink a gallon of water? Did you create that 60-minute barrier? Like, you have an action task. You create your own. I can give you samples, and in the book I do. But you write on, you know, your whiteboard fridge magnet an action task for each of these 10 alignments. And then for each day, you have a yes or no. It's binary. Did you do it or not? That way, at the end of the week, not only do you have the assessment that's in the book, but you also have this Blissful Balancer where you could say, oh, you know what? I was only 3 out of 7 selfless service. I need to prioritize change. So it's real-time tracking it. So that's just another tool that I would recommend, you know, for people who are serious about this. And you could print out the PDF for free, or you could actually get the fridge magnet. You know, I want to just, the goal is to spread the message. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen such an impact in my life. And this stuff's not rocket science. It's just takes doing it. It takes having discipline, you know, but I have found so much positive transformation in my own life and all the happy hustlers that actually implement this soul mapping system. So I wanted to share that.
Yeah. I love that. And it's such a practical tool that you can use to give you just like another reminder. I used to be one of those people who had sticky notes all over my house because I'm ADD and I forget. And if I don't have reminders, you know, it will slip my mind. And so having something that you can go back to and you see every time you go to the fridge, it's like, here it is. And we need those like built-in mechanisms to help us, because we're all human and we all have stress and we all have things happening. And it just becomes a part of your lifestyle. And that's what you have created as a lifestyle entrepreneur, as much as you have your hands in so many amazing projects. I mean, we could have a whole nother podcast on the work that you do with personal branding and social media and sales. You're incredible at all of those things. But ultimately, you've turned the happy hustle into a lifestyle. And it's something that's easily adaptable for all of us. And that's what I so appreciate about you and your work, because you're right. None of this is new, but the reason why we keep talking about it is because it works and it changes your life, but so many of us struggle with the application of this.
Yep, that's it. It's the application. You nailed it. And,
Yeah.
like all of this knowledge, you could listen to Tori and I chat all day, but if you don't take this knowledge, this newfound understanding of where you're at, and then define what success actually looks like, what is a 5 for each of these 10 alignments for you, then reverse engineer that process to get there. And then we kind of get into it in the book. Again, shameless plug, I know, but it's like, I put it all in there. So it's like, you could just ascend yourself up these 5 stages of happy hustling so you can get to that blissful balance, that life you love.
Yeah, and that's what we're all after. So you guys, Cary's made it super easy. He's done all the hard legwork for you. He's made it into these this easy framework with helpful tools. So my greatest suggestion, if you're ready to get out of the hustle grind culture and really create a life of balance and ease and flow and purpose and meaning, the best thing you can do for yourself this holiday season is go grab a book, get one for a friend, get one for a loved one, put it in someone's stocking, because we could all use it. And this truly could be something that turns 2022 around for you. If this was a hard year, if you felt like you were completely burned out, let this be a choice point where you're like, I'm not going to waste another year like living on fumes. Like, let this stop here, because just like Cary had an author and a mentor kind of speak into his life and show him the way, he just continues to like give that love and do unto others. And that's why we're super grateful to have you and have you share this and all the work that you do. So appreciate you, my friend. And if people obviously want to get the book, we're going to have that linked in the show notes. But how else can they find you online and get to know what you're all about if they want to connect further?
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much, Tori, for having me and just those kind, thoughtful words. I really received that. And, for anyone out there who is interested in really becoming a happy hustler and just creating their dream reality, the book, I'm actually giving away the first 1,000 copies for free. Like, that's how bad I want this thing read. So if you go to thehappyhustlebook.com, all you got to do is help out with shipping and handling, but you can get the book for free. And then it takes you to another page where if you did want the whiteboard fridge magnet, you can get that too. But that's all at thehappyhustlebook.com. And then I would highly recommend checking out, Tori on the Happy Hustle podcast, because she crushed it and dropped hot fire on the mic. And, and I just am all available, like everything caryjack.com if you just want to know more about me and all the other things I'm up to, caryjack.com.
Yes. Yeah. We'll put all of the links to those things in the show notes. Cary, thank you for being awesome, coachable, sharing your story, sharing your wisdom, and you're welcome back anytime, my friend. I hope that you have an amazing holiday. And for everybody listening, go give Cary a shout out, screenshot this episode. Let us know that you listened to it. We'd love to hear what your biggest takeaways are. And if you played along with us through the exercise, maybe tag us. We want to see how you're doing. We want to see what your soul mapping journey looks like. And let us know if you actually implement it and how your life changes as a result. We would love to celebrate any successes and wins with you. And the best way you can say thank you anytime, if you like the show, if you're getting value from people like Cary, is to just leave us a rating and review. We're so grateful when you do. Until next time, go be coachable. I love you. See you next week.